Hi, I'm Dave, owner of Future Past Vintage Collectibles, and this is my daughter, Rachel.
Hi.
How's it going?
So good.
Here we are again.
Here another week, another video.
We have a lot to talk about today. We should probably get right to it.
Yeah.
You might want to say something.
Yes, we do have a giveaway that we're going to announce at the end of the video that we announced last week. And we're also announcing another giveaway this week. Stay tuned till the end if you want to know more about that.
Today we're going to talk a little bit about the comic market and what's going on. You know, there's a lot of people with a lot of channels talking about all kinds of different comic books and things that they're interested in or what they feel is hot or what they're investing in. And that's kind of our approach. Our approach is really, I primarily talk about books I'm either buying or selling. It's practical experience. I'm not guessing or trying to tell anyone what to do. Really, I'm just sharing information because I know that can be really helpful. I like when I hear what other people decide. This stuff is really subjective. What someone feels is a desirable book, a valuable book, a book that they'd be willing to spend more than the last person that bought one. It's really how to evaluate books and understand each segment of the market that you're interested in. So for me, I'm interested in, I'm probably tracking on thousands of books right now across all eras. Golden Age is probably my least focus because it is so all-encompassing. It's like a world of its own. But so is modern books. Modern books is no less complicated. And then you have things that are frozen in time in a different way. So when you start looking at Silver Age books, they've been around for a while, but people were already starting to bag and board. And then as you go into bronze, there are often more examples of higher grade books. And you go into copper and you can get high grade, just about anything in copper you can get in a 9.8. And you get into modern and really you need to have a 9.8 from an investment perspective in most cases in order to have an investable book, if it is truly investable. I'm going to go over some of the books I've bid on and how I did in Comic Link. For over the last couple of weeks, they've had an auction. And a lot of people don't talk about Comic Link, but I'm going to stress this again. They sell tens of thousands of books a year. A lot of times they're getting record high prices or record low prices. It's like not watching that is like going to a game and not watching the last quarter.
Because none of those are tracked in like CGC GPA analysis. And
Correct.
Comic Link is strictly slabbed books. There's no raw books.
They don't sell raw. And what's interesting is like the CGC census shows those books. The census shows.
Yeah, the census shows them.
Yeah, the census
they've been
does.
slabbed.
GP analysis and other tracking software that goes to sales, they'll attribute a book into CGC, CBCS, PGX, or raw. There's an attribution for raw that's pretty new.
GP analysis?
Not a GP analysis in other software.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of
Like
people
cover
may not
price
even ever go to GP analysis. I'd be curious, like, you know, of all of our watchers, how many use GP analysis? We're probably going to do a survey, actually.
That would be good. We have a community tab.
Yeah, we're going to do a survey about that, also about where you buy your books. So that will be coming up in the next couple of weeks. I'm really curious. So we're going to look at books. I'm going to talk about why I bid on that book, and we're going to look at the economics, and then we're going to see what happened. Did I win it? Did I not bid enough? And these are all purchases. None of these are sales.
And you purchased a lot of books that we're not going to be talking about today in this particular
This is like really a very thin percentage. I spent a lot on this auction. I bought a lot of books. We're going to get a lot of boxes.
So unboxing's coming soon of books.
And it's not the only auction house I do business with. I use Heritage. I've used Comic Connect. Pedigree Comics. I've been on some of theirs and we'll put their link in the description. I've actually bought some really good books at what I thought was a fair price. Kind of glad it was on a smaller auction site. But there's some risks inherent with like going to different sites and you're always kind of concerned that somebody's going to be trying to jack up the price. And that should be a concern for people. It gets very expensive to play and lose. So I personally, I watch for things like that. And if I think that a book is being inflated erroneously, I back out of it. So let's talk about Brave and the Bold, number 93.
Yeah, so this is from 1971. It has a House of Mystery cover, and it's a Neil Adams cover.
This is a book that I've actually featured. I have a 9.4 off-white white pages of this that I bought. I actually purchased this from Pedigree auctions. Pedigree Comics, yeah. And I was happy to get it. And I think I want to say I paid $6.50 for my copy, my 9.4 off-white white, which is a little higher than what has been sold. But let's talk about statistics. So, for instance, on the 9.4, it's going right around $660 as of August. On my copy, I think I paid $523. It's currently at $660. Let's talk about 9.6s, though. A 9.6 came to market. It was CVA, which is a attribution that CGC gives when you pay for them to do it. And they talk about the squaring of the cover and just how the staple placement is. They really go into details about how the book presents that some people are pretty picky about. And if it's CVA, it means it matches a lot of their criteria for being not only high grade, but well produced. This book is just a little bit off. So you can, on the top of the cover, you can see that you got that black line and some white. And as the cover goes down, that's an ideal situation on the bottom. This is a nice copy though. 9/6 of this don't come up often. So how do you evaluate what this is worth? So usually you can look at the data and figure out where this book is, and you don't have to have a recent sale for 9/6 to get an understanding where the book's going in general. So Pedigree 9/8 this month sold for $3,120. So that's good. That's the highest price that's ever been achieved in my recollection.
Only 2 have sold in the last 2 years.
Yeah, the last 2. I don't know how many. I think there are only 2, if I remember correctly. You can go all the way back here to 2002, and one sold for $455. So it hasn't doubled since 2002 based on this information. It has never gone to $800. I do not see that there's been one sale recorded of $800. What do I think the book's worth? How much did I bid? On this book, I bid up to $950. So is that aggressive? No. I have a 9.4. I like having a 9.4.
It helps you decide.
I didn't know where the market was going to go with it. And like I said, the centering's off. I'm not crazy about the centering on this. So usually if I'm buying a book and I'm willing to pay more than market, I start getting incredibly picky. I stopped, I think, at $950. What do you think the book sold for? What do you think the book sold for?
I mean, I know what it sold for.
What did it sell for?
It sold for $1,400.
Okay, so that pretty much annihilates any sale that's ever happened. But guess what? You don't know that. If all you look at is at data, and besides me talking about it right now, you don't know that.
Or unless you're following Comic League auctions.
You would have to actually watch that auction. But this book, do I think the next one will sell for 14? It depends. There's some variables. You might have different people bidding on it. One person's out of the market. And guess what?
Will it be a CVA? Will it be white pages?
Yeah.
Will it be centered better?
And CVA's never been a requirement for me, but I don't throw it out of the room when I get it.
I mean, whoever bid for this maybe was like, I have to have that because it's a CVA. Who knows?
I guarantee it helped them make their decision, but the bigger thing there is white pages. So yeah, this thing, did it perform where it should have?
I mean, it doubled.
If you look at this 9/8 sale, right, at $31.20, does it make sense for that? Yes, it means that the 9/8's 1.5 times more valuable. That really is in line. And that can change from book to book. Sometimes it's only 50% more. Sometimes I've seen multiples of 10.
Well, and with it being a pedigree, it makes sense that it would be more than one time.
And that's a perfect point. So if it wasn't pedigree, would it have got that much? And I don't know. That is a really good pedigree, by the way. That was a book that I looked at, I wanted, didn't get. Oh, how many are in the census, by the way?
Yeah, so there are 16 universal 9/6s in the census, and there are 5 universal 9/8s.
So what's the next book?
The next book is House of Mystery number 184. It's from 1970. It's a 9/6 off-white to white pages, and it is another Neil Adams cover. Big surprise that you're going for the Neil Adams covers.
Well, they don't come up very often. You'll see that in a moment. I haven't even looked, but I'll bet you on eBay there's 10 copies of this right now. Probably get it for $5 to $10. Not in 9/6.
No, probably wrong.
I got to tell you, Rachel, the difference between 9/4 and 9/6 in this series can be astronomical. I mean, astronomical. You're talking 3x, 4x, 5x, because they're downright rare and high grade.
Yeah, let's see how rare they are.
Yeah, pull it up.
There are no 9/8s at all of this book, and there are 9 9/6s. There are 59 total copies.
It's an interesting one, right?
There is one signature series in 9/8, but no universal.
Oh, I probably got Neil Adams to sign that book.
That's probably worth a lot of money.
So what do we got here?
It looks like the last sale was in July of 2020, and it was $999. And there's been 3 sales ever since 2011.
Recorded sales.
Recorded sales. Recorded sales and GP analysis.
We don't know, and I'll tell you that I guarantee private owners of these books have sold them to other private owners.
Yeah, and like conventions.
Let me give you an example of where something like exactly. There are some dealers that have some of the biggest books in the country selling at only conventions. They don't have a website and they don't report things. They're not part of this system. So you're missing all of that. The CGC board. I mean, there are some huge purchases and sales. I've done both. Some of the biggest books I've ever bought have been on the CGC board. I do know that books like this are not hard to sell, and people might be inclined to pay, and I've paid a lot of money on a Buy It Now because I know I've never seen that in the last few years.
Considering how many are in the census, I really doubt that they're trading that often because there's only nine sixes.
And I'm here to tell you, anyone that's invested in this book along the way, they don't regret it.
Yeah, they probably just hold on to it forever.
They don't. Yeah, and that's the thing.
That'd be you.
Well, it is. This is not a short play for me. I know I'll sell them one day. You know, I love this cover, and I'm going to tell you right now, this is not in my top 5. However, it's sick to me how Neil Adams drew realism. Rachel was just pointing out too. This has Wallywood Interiors
and Gil Kane, big
yeah.
names.
So you're bringing up the point that this is a real quality book, and
this book has a lot going for it.
It does, and
to the naked eye,
it's not unusual in these early issues that they have that going on, and that's why this particular genre and era is really attractive to me. I don't think it's by far seen its day. I think that people that collect Golden Age pre-code horror, if they ever get bored with it, this is where they'll end up going. So,
well, yeah. So the last one sold for $9.99. What did you think it was going to go for? What did you bid on it?
Yeah, on this book, what happened was it wasn't going up. So, like the day of the auction, it was sitting at about $300.
So you were thinking score.
So what I did is I had to put in the very last couple seconds of the auction, what I thought would win the book and my max. And I put $950.
Which from 300, that's pretty big.
Well, it all really happens in the last few seconds. So you never know. Mm-hmm. But I made that bid and immediately it said I got outbid. So I knew I lost the book. What did it go for?
$1,000.
Yeah. So I missed the book by what's called an increment.
That's so sad. You were bummed.
If right now I was in that same situation, I'd have bid $11.50. Doesn't mean I would have won it, but golly, these things never come up. What's next?
The next one's House of Mystery number 187. It's from 1970. It's a 9.6, white pages, Neil Adams cover. Big surprise.
Love this book. Once again, I wouldn't say it's in my top 5 covers. It's definitely a book I want to own. So what does this book look like on the CGC census?
Yeah, so only one 9.8, one Universal 9.8, and 5 Universal 9.6s.
Yeah. Pretty typical. It actually is kind of rare to get a 9.8. A lot of these do not have a 9.8 example.
I mean, the previous one didn't have any. So.
What does this go for then? It goes for...
So the last sale was in 2016 and it was $860. There have been no sales until 2009.
What about the 9.4?
9.4 sold in April for $408. There's also no other sales in like the last 10 years.
So let's talk about that. So that's the information that I was going on. And I also looked all the way. There's just not a lot of sales of this book, period. So this was another one that was not, it wasn't high right for the auction. And right in the last seconds, I put in a bid for $965. Do you think I won it? How'd I do?
Someone outbid you by bidding $1,000.
An increment? Yeah. Yeah. So I missed another one. I was getting a little disappointed, but I also knew that I had so many books that I wanted that some had to go.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't bid $1,400 or $1,500 because I had a lot of books that I wanted to get. That,
you don't just have $20,000 in your pocket.
That some of them I was willing to really throw down on. So let's talk about House of Secrets 90. Of all of the books, this is the one I wanted the most. Mm-hmm. That's why... Look what it has going for it. Talk about this book.
Yeah, so House of Secrets number 90. It's a 9.6, white pages. It's also a CVA, which I know you don't really care about.
I do.
Okay. For this one you do?
Yeah. Well, here's what's funny. Much older books. This one's 50 years old. Yeah, I care as long as other things about it are in line. So keep going about the details.
So it's from 1971. It is a Neil Adams cover, once again.
So we got a Neil Adams cover, CVA, 9.6, white pages, well-centered. I mean, I looked at this book. I'm like, I have to get this.
And monsters.
Well, it's just got, I love the cover.
It's got the monsters.
I like the floating house. So let's talk about what they look like on the census.
Yeah. So there is 198.
Yep.
And there is 8 9.6s. There are 82 in total slabbed.
Yep.
So that's tiny percentage of high grade.
It's not as scarce in a grade as others, but it's also, look at the cover, guys. It's so tough to get this book without a spine tick on it.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something about a 9.6. You should have no color breaking spine ticks. And if for some reason I saw a color breaking spine tick on a book that said 9.6, I would probably pass on that. You can have other things, but no color break. So I was going to run with the bulls on this one. What was the last sale?
So there was a 9.6 that sold for $390 in 2018. There was also a 9.6 Pedigree that sold in 2014 for $380.
And what we say, there's 8 9.6s. So what's the last sale that you see? I see
The
sale
most recent sale was in May of 2022. It was a 9.2 and it sold for $329.
You can always double the book as you go up in grade and get some kind of idea of something. I don't even know if it's going to be accurate or not, because sometimes books can vary wildly how much a 9.4 or 9.6 goes for. All right, so the last one, how much did I bid?
$1,010.
Okay, so what did the book sell for?
$1,010.
So I won this one. I was the guy at that increment. No one had bid $1,011. I was really happy to get this. Based on electronic information that we're finding on the internet about sales, that was the high. Right?
Yeah, per GPA 9.6 is the highest that 9.6 has sold for.
Yeah, so that
in the last 15 years. It went from $390 to $1,010.
So 2.5 times.
Mm-hmm. And a 9.8 sold in 2015. I didn't mention that for $1,200.
I got the copy I want, and that's fine. I'll tuck it in. I'm not selling it.
Oh, that's a PC.
So in this auction, I always notice this book when it's for sale.
And we talked about it last week.
The Marie Severin face on the Incredible Hulk Annual 1. So here we are. I see 2 copies up, right? They're both a week apart. So on the first copy, I make a bid early. I mean, the day one that the auction opened up, I bid $6, $12, whatever it was at. It's called a tracing bid, so I can track the price. And if it got to a certain number, I'd be interested. Because if a book like this ever fails to get what it's supposed to get, I'm a player. At what percentage? If this was 20 to 30% under the last sale, yeah, I'm running for this one. Well, it wasn't.
It wasn't.
Day of the auction, I think it was at $10K. What did this sell for?
It sold for $13,001.
Yeah, so let's look at the GPA on that. Start with GPA. That's right in line, right?
Yeah, so the last sale was in January for $13,200.
Not the highest price, because it's gotten $14,000 before.
Yeah, there's a little plateau in the graph.
It's holding the jump that it got from last year at $14,000. Pretty close. I'm not concerned if a book's down 6%, and I'm not incredibly excited if a book's up 6%, because that's just the nature of a sale. 13.1. I'm watching the next book for next week, and let's show that cover.
Yeah, and I didn't mention this is from 1968.
Yeah.
So this is the number 1 annual 1968.
Yeah, let's talk about the book. So this is a thick bound book. These things were, usually the spine is glued on, so it's gnarled and they get crunched and it tears, so it's really difficult. 9.8s, how many 9.8s are there?
There's 31, but there is 1,928 total copies graded, so it's got a lot of copies out there.
I'm watching the next one now. Notice, if you don't mind, put them both up next to each other.
Okay. Just to
Here
see
we
if
are.
you can see the difference.
Please take a look at these 2 books, because I did, and they both look identical. If you mixed them, I'm telling you right now, you'd pick one or the other as being the best, because they both look so similar. I'm watching this one out of curiosity, and it's not going up as fast as the other. How much do you think the second one sold for? You know this.
Yeah, I know. But how much do you guys think the second one? If the first one went for $13,000.
So, here's a book that we all know there's only 31 of. One of them's off the market. Here comes the second one. How did it do? Show them how it did.
$9,300. That person got a bargain. It's still a lot of money, but it's a bargain compared to $13,000.
Is it a bargain compared to 5 years ago?
So the average in 2020 was $3,500.
Yeah. Here's the question, and I'll leave you with this: did the guy who buy it for $9,000 get a good deal? We don't know.
It'll be interesting to see what the next one sells for.
Yeah.
That'll be a determining factor of where that book's at. It'll be interesting to see what
three
it sells next.
3 sales tells you everything, and it's actually a marketing number, like 3 visits, 3 sales. It shows a commitment to something, right? This book sells for thousands of dollars less. I cannot find out what's wrong. And I guarantee maybe I didn't look close enough. Maybe there's something on the cover that someone didn't like. That's a huge difference between 9/8 so.
Maybe the auction ended at a weird time.
They both have the same page quality.
Yeah, I don't know.
They both look centered almost the exact same.
Feels like an enigma.
Fascinating. Look at them. Tell us. So what
Let
else?
us know if you see any differences. All right, the next comic we're looking at is Power Comics #1. It doesn't say the year. Oh, it's from 1944, so it's a golden age, and it's an L.B. Cole cover.
I definitely want this book. Artistically, thematically, from the era and that artist, I just think it's an amazing cover. You know, it matches my art sensibilities. So it's a little different for me too, but I've seen a copy of this, a really high-grade copy. I'm not even sure where I saw it anymore, but I know that ever since I saw that cover, I'm like, I could get behind that book.
And it's interesting because it's such a low grade for you.
What's interesting about this book is I didn't know where it'd go, but let's look at like how many are on the census.
Yeah, so it's low. Big surprise. I feel like L.B. Cole, there's just not a lot out there. There's 196.
1944.
Yeah. There's 196, there's 194, 185, 2 80s, and there are 33 in the total census.
Yeah, so this book's just scarce. I mean, 8.5 to me is incredibly high grade. There's only 3 copies, right, above it that are graded higher. So I'd be happy with an 8.5 of this. And so I put a bid in early on. What did the last copy sell for in 8.5?
Last copy sold in 2004 for $1,093.
And what's the last sale?
The last sale was a 6.0 in September of 2022 for $1,895.
So I saw that and I predicted that this book should be in the $4,000 range. So I'm watching it. The last bid I put on it was like $1,000. Then I just watched it keep going up. What did it end up selling for?
It sold for $3,615.
Yeah. So a little bit less than what I estimated. I think whoever has that is going to be happy with it. It's an old label too. So there's always a possibility, but it's very slim that those can be improved because they get knocked about inside of that for 20 years.
Yeah. Well, and I'll mention too, because we didn't mention this, but it sold for $20,000 in 2021 and it was a Promise Collection copy.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
It is crazy. And I think, that's funny. I think that's where I saw it in the Promise Collection. That was books that were sold. Okay. They were sold in heritage auctions.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was going to make a play for it if it came in right, but it's right where it should be in the market.
Yeah. And you were like, I'm not spending that much.
Right. So this next specky spec book, this is Super Friends #7. I actually had a full set of Super Friends from the Monterey collection that I sold off early on. I actually think one of these books I got a Gem Mint 10.0 on when I sent it into CGC.
Oh, that's the
They were so pristine. So I'm mad at this series because I used to have it and I don't. And it's like I have to get over it.
You can't keep it all. How are you going to have your Fantastic Fours?
I know. But this book has some spec. Go ahead and read the label and I'll tell you why.
Yeah, so it is Super Friends #7, 1977, DC 96, white pages. First appearance of the Wonder Twins.
These characters are being speculated on. So I'm watching the book because sometimes you'll see in books that are heavy on Golden Age or other eras that people might skip over a book like this. And I was actually bidding pretty aggressively in this until it got to the point of being more than I was willing to pay. So let's talk about what the last copy sold. And
well, we can start with the census information. There are 15 9/8s, there are 36 9/6s, and there are 107 total copies in the census.
So what did the last copy go for?
The last 9/6 sold in 2022 for $400. The last 9/8 sold for $1,150 in September of 2022.
Yeah, so that's really pretty new. That it's
been pretty stagnant up until that point where it
sold
for
until the
for the 1100.
This is not a book I actually want unless I get a fantastic deal. What's a fantastic deal? For me, at least 25% under what I think the fair market value is. Not what the internet says. I'll use all that data, and if I can get 25 to 30% less, then I buy a book that I'm not completely ambitious about. Would I be excited to pick one of these up in a collection or so? Yeah. I mean, I like this book. It doesn't really hit all of the things I like in a book for my PC. So I bid all the way up to $540, and then I backed out. What did it go for?
It went for $728.
I was a little surprised because that all happened in the last couple of seconds. And what
I really wanted that.
They don't come up often. I did not get that, but it did sell for a record. That was a record price, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, a 9.6 has not sold for that much.
And now you guys know there's an appetite out there for those books.
The next one's Unexpected, number 124. It's from 1971. You guessed it, Neil Adams cover.
I was super ambitious to get this book. It's CVA 9.6, off-white white. Really, I mean, it's centered beautifully. And I love this cover. Why do I love this more than others? Let's look at it for a second. It's the expression on that kid's face, man. There's something Neil Adams can bring a realism that I can recognize out of the corner of my eye. It really, his characters just don't seem like cartoons. And all these creepy green goblin dudes that are making this death birthday cake with like real candles. I really love these colors. This book's like, I'm willing to throw down. I'm willing to bid on this. Oh, this auction went off when I told my wife I'd take her out to dinner. So I'm like, what am I going to do? I like to watch an auction every second, and then in the last couple seconds put in my bid. I just put in my bid, and I don't like doing that because sometimes that can start a bidding war, and people will just start bidding up. But I did. I put in a bid. I put in a $1,004 bid. I think the book was at like $400. And it only went up $50. It went to like $460 or $470, right? So I'm like, okay. So talk about the numbers on this book.
So the census, there's no 9.8s. There's 7 9.6s and 5 9.4s. 23 in the total census. There are none, basically.
Yeah, that is insane. Look how seldom they sell.
There's been one sale in 2012. That's on record. And one sale in 2006.
So I was biting at the bit.
I don't even think that the value of those matter because it's been so long.
Well, it does and it doesn't, but you're right. What do I think this book's worth? I just told you I bid $1,004, so I think it's worth
at least that
much. So I go to dinner and I'm having dinner and I'm thinking, did I bid enough? Man, I don't want to miss that. What did it sell for?
$1,100.
I really got upset. I didn't get mad or anything. And you know what, guys? I didn't show a lot of the books that I did get. Was that a record for that book?
I mean, yeah.
Let's talk.
Because there's been only one other sale in 2012.
So in 2012, it was how much?
$353.
So it tripled.
Yeah.
So this book tripled. Check this out, though. So Weird War 24 comes up, and as soon as I see it, I'm like, oh, I love Weird War. Luis Dominguez did this cover. And he also did other horror books, and I really like his work. He doesn't get enough props from me. I don't know about anyone else. I'm really attracted to his covers. Boom, this book pops up. I'm looking at it. I'm like, I don't like that spine. It's off-center too much for me. Because this is PC book. This is not, I buy this and flip it. This is a chupacabra. Let's look at the census.
There's 198. There's 4 9.6s and 2 9.4s. There's 25 in the total census.
So I knew what it was. And then that question that comes up with me all the time, is that what you want in your collection? It's the highest graded. There's only one of them, right? This is it. No, it's too off center for me because I think if I was going to flip it at some point, maybe, but I wouldn't pay the top amount ever paid. And I knew that was coming. I had no doubt. Listen, how much was the last one sold for?
The last one sold...
A 9.0 sold for what?
$32.
Right. And then the last 9.6 sold for what?
$160.
And that was 7 years ago, 6 years ago?
2016. Yeah, I mean, there's been some sales in 2020, but they were really like low grade.
So we already know there's not a lot of them. Even in the lowest of high grade, it's not a valuable book. Why is it valuable? Dominguez art is incredible.
There's only one of them.
Scarcity. You're not going to find it. So I was willing to bid a lot on this book. I bid $450, and that was going to be the most because of the centering. That centering really bothers me.
I mean, that's a lot more than what it sold for last time because it was $180 or a 9.6. So that's more than double.
Yeah. I don't know how many of you have this book on your want list. All I can tell you is there's something about being exposed and understanding and then looking for these for a long time and finding out they're not out there. Yeah, I kind of backed out of this one, but then I watched. I'm like, well, what's it going to go for? What did it go for?
It went for $860.
Yeah.
Double what you put down on it.
What's that?
It's a double what you bid on it.
And I knew that I wasn't competitive with it. If that would have been well-centered... Let me go this way. If that would have been well-centered, what would I have spent on that book? More than it sold for.
Probably $1,000.
I would have probably gone up to $1,100 to $1,200.
Mm-hmm. Got more aggressive with it.
Just so you know what kind of value I put on it. So that's it for that. I showed last week. I'll just hold this up real quick. I showed this book last week. And then I realized that this is one of the strangest comic books I've ever seen when I was cleaning it. I went through it page by page, doing what I do, and it's not fun. This is a very serious comic book. There's childhood abuse issues in this, a very serious topic given by an outside organization, by both Power Pack and Spider-Man. So it's kind of, as an artifact, it's different. It was shocking.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of shocked me how direct this book is, and we probably have to even fog out some things it says on it. So this is a rare-ish, strange thing. Anyway, it's our giveaway. Here's some footage of me cleaning and pressing a comic book, showing before and after.
Yes.
And I know some people that watch this channel have asked for this. It's not an incredible detail, but it's here. So let's watch that. First thing I do when I have a book is I go over the front and back cover, count all the pages, look at the staples, just do a preliminary how it looks in my hand. And this book presents very well, I think, in a bag and board. You would think, seeing the front cover, it was a 9.2 or a 9.4. With the naked eye. When you take it out and you really start to drill down, it has a lot of technical issues that would never allow it to get there. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of those. And what I'll do is I'll just go through the defects in this book. So the front cover has 5 color breaking spine ticks. It also has in the top right corner an indentation. And on the bottom, it has a slight fold with some other impressions. These are nail marks that you might not be able to see, but I can see them the way the light's hitting it. And there's a very somewhat deep crease that goes to about right here that goes throughout the entire book. You really can't see it, but it goes through the entire book. I'm not wearing gloves. I always wash my hands before I do this. I like to feel the book that I'm working on. This back cover also has a very pronounced fold all the way through it. It could be a polybag fold. We have about 12 spine ticks on the spine. Most of them look to be color breaking, very slight. We have a very large crease right here that runs this distance. That particular crease is about 1.25 inches. And then we have another small crease on this corner and a larger crease about 3/4 inch over here. With the front and back cover, I put this book somewhere between a 5.5 and a 6.0, technically. I think a lot of this stuff's gonna come out. So I always wipe the book down, make sure there's no debris. Sometimes you can feel, and I can right now, some hesitation or drag, and I'm touching this very lightly. That's usually from oil, from people that did not wash their hands, or were handling the book in a way that wasn't careful. You can always look at your pad to see what kind of dirt you're getting. I will do the same treatment that I just did. I will go up and down. So I've wiped it down. The next step is I like to go back to the front cover. I will use an absorbing pad, start from the middle, work my way up. I am barely touching this cover. I use a whole pad because I like to get more surface covered, and I find it's better with a pad. So once again, this is not abrasive. This will not remove ink. What it will do is help freshen up the book. It always seems to look better after I use an absorbing pad. So this type of work is what helps really understand the grade and the condition of the book, because the more I look at it and I end up touching every piece of the covers, I can really kind of dig in and see every single issue that it may have. So I'll grab my board and turn it back over and use the absorbing pad on the back cover. Okay, I'm going to work on the spine ticks now. And the way I do that is I will insert a chamfered board, which is a board specifically fit for this purpose. About twice as heavy as a magazine backing board, and it has a laser cut sanded edge that fits exactly here and allows for the press work I'm about to do on the spine to be even and not create a square boundary like this would. This could actually create spine stress, or could leave a permanent mark on some paper. There are other approaches to this. This is the one I prefer. I've put my chamfered board in. I have the book in place. This is called SRP. This is a brand new piece. This actually protects the page and allows the heat to get through, and you can actually see where you're working from. So I place it over there. This is a tack iron. At this point, I will use the tack iron to remove the spine ticks on the back cover first, because it's to cover this up. What's missing, and I just lost a piece of footage, I don't know what happened, but I showed myself using a still ball, and it was actually about 25 minutes of work that somehow I didn't record.
Yeah.
I worked on this book for about 35 minutes before I put it into the next step, which is a humidity chamber. Books that have this kind of damage, it needs extra moisture.
So let's see what happens after all of the pressing and cleaning.
Yep. So the book is under these magazine boards, and it has plastic under it, and it's in a humidity chamber I fashioned. So I will put a lid on it, I'll put some weight on it, and see you in 24 hours. Okay, it's been 24 hours since we put this in the humidity chamber. So at this point, I'm looking to make sure that the things I identified even look more pronounced. I just take a look at everything, make sure I'm not missing anything, and then what I do from this point is I prepare it for the press. So I turn the press on, preheat it, and I start putting paper in. So this is a magazine backing board that goes in the middle to support the spine. And then I put 65 pound paper in the front and back under the front and back cover to make sure that not only the cover has a flat surface to press to, but it doesn't have any of the divots or get the staples impressed. Then I put that in this what's called a sandwich of 2 backing boards and a certain kind of high gloss paper that doesn't transfer. And you can use, there's lots of things people use. I find this to be the best for the book. So here's the press, and I use steel plates. The reason I use steel plates, it distributes the heat evenly rather than at the coil. At the platen, which is the top heating element, that's what it's called. I put very light pressure on this, and I actually press it for 36 hours. Here it is after the press, and it presents great. I mean, and some of the stuff came up, and some of it didn't. What I'll do now is we'll show you like all of the big defects before and after in a photograph. Best way to do this is to take a photograph and blow it up, and really to the point that it's almost ridiculous. So this looks good. There's very small indentions in a couple of these, but I don't mind that. I think if you can see a color break and something's completely flat, it actually looks a little unnatural. So I like, to use as little pressure as I can and fix things that don't break color. If something breaks color, I still want it to be flatter than it is if it creates a huge channel and makes the whole cover dent. Mm-hmm. But if I can get them flat as I can without looking like mashed together and pressed.
Well, that middle line looks like it's gone completely now.
So it's not, I do think that I'll be able to get more of it out. It's possible there's a color break here. On the bottom right corner, that is a color break. It's super light. I'm going to still try to get it a little bit flatter.
What about that big crease on the top left corner on the back? It's gone.
No.
Oh, there's still a little there.
So I think it broke color too. I mean, if you're really looking at this book under a loop, I think after I press this another time that you'll still see that. But I'll let you know. We'll let you know. I have to press this again. So this has been in a 3-day process, right? And I'm going to have to press it again. Not unusual. That's why things like quick presses or like, hey, we're just going to throw this in for 4 hours. That's not the way I operate. I think that I can get this book up to an 8.5.
It was like a 5.5 originally.
It was that's a solid 5.5, and I think that not only will it be an 8.5, it'll be a really nice looking 8.5. When it comes to color breaks and bends and corners, the lighter they are, the better they are. And CGC takes that into consideration. I'm not saying anyone should even slap this. If it does have defects, I want them to be the least obtrusive defects if I own something, so something looks brand new.
Yeah.
And this does. So I just kind of wanted to give you guys an example of what it's like to press books, and I will show you the end result on this. I was super happy with the way this came out.
Yeah,
just so you know, I really was, and it presents fantastic. I think once you get it in hand, it just looks new.
Someone's going to win this book today. It was in our giveaway last week. The winner is Kirby Carpenter.
Kirby, you won that.
Congratulations. Email us or emails down below and we can get that book sent to you.
We're going to give you an option of another book, Kirby, if you want something more fun. So
just email us and
chat with us in email.
We're announcing another giveaway today. So we are Gerber authorized dealers. So that means that we sell bags and boards now.
This is a product we use a lot of. Show this. Here's a picture of our shipment, our last shipment, 350 pounds worth of bags and boards.
Package of them.
Boom.
So we're giving some away. We are going to be giving away Mylite 2s and full back boards, 50 each. And these retail for $30 altogether. These are for Gold and Silver Age books. Gerber. We're very excited. Again, we love these bags and boards. We actually are using it for this book. So they're very shiny. Yep. They look really nice. And we're going to give these away to somebody. All you have to do if you want to win bags and boards is like this video, comment down below, and subscribe to our channel, and you'll be entered to win. We love doing giveaways.
Love it.
And we're excited about the bags and boards. Hooray!
Yeah, hooray.
Other than that, that's it. Anyway, thank you guys so much for supporting our channel. We appreciate it.
This is easy.
This is so easy. Bye!